You know him, you love him, you want some more of him. It's Corentin, the advanced guide. Alright, so Corinton, arguably one of the best damage dealers in the game, period, if not the best damage dealer in the game. He has really good range, really good damage, really good utility and shutdown. He can do pretty much everything except for heal. So let's go over where he excels, what items he wants to run, and what are some advanced things that you can do with him that are, a little bit above and beyond just basic spamming of Glacial Moon, and like Icy Breath and things like this. Alright, so for items, he's a little flexible with his items. Depends on how careful you are with your mages. Because of Glacial Moon's range, especially on New Game Plus Hard, his range is actually quite good. So he doesn't need to be too close to enemies. So if you want to make him more durable, you can throw an HP bracelet on him. You can throw... I don't want to recommend Res Earring, but you can throw it on him if you find him dying a lot. But you really shouldn't be... You should be able to position your mages so that they're not dying. But if you really want to, he can be a Res Earring candidate. But it just feels disgusting to say. You could do it. I don't recommend it. Alright, so Speed Bracelet, I would say, is a must, like a speed amulet or a speed bracelet. He doesn't really need mobility. He has 5 move. He has a little bit better move than the other mages because he is just that cool of a guy. Accuracy doesn't matter. Strength doesn't matter. His physical defense is low, but if you're using him well, he shouldn't be getting hit by very many physical attacks. But I just have HP bracelet and speed bracelet on him for just a little bit of extra health. There's really not too much else that's good. You can do damage if you want to do like magic attack damage, but the speed, I would say you always want to run a speed on him, and then the other thing is optional. It could be health, it could be magic attack damage. This will scale his damage. It could be Res Earring if you want to. I don't recommend it, but yeah, I just have HP and speed on him. Alright, so let's hop into a match really quick. And in this case, we can do that one. Let's do this one. This one's fine. There's like 2 starting enemies. I only really need 2 enemies just to show like basic combos and stuff like that. So, okay. Let's get rid of most of these units because we just don't want all these extra turns. We're going to turn everyone off. Okay, so here's Corentin. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is his positioning. So the main thing with positioning with mages is they don't want to be in danger unless enemies are shut down, physically can't get to them, or you have no other choice. You do want tank on them if they're going to be in the fray, but you should be able to shut enemies down and body block them to prevent your mages from getting nuked. So basic positioning, he wants to be protected, he wants things to be blocked off so that he can't be accessed, he wants to be hitting things at the very end of his magic range. The reason for this is it keeps him as safe as humanly possible, and if you don't want to do that, then I have a build for you. So this will go over his first advanced tactic. So Sarah Noah and Flanagan. So what is so cool about these guys? They both have shielding stance. So if one of them is near him, they can put half damage on him. So they will take half the damage for him. This is extremely useful because even though he has mitigation, if he's shielding stanced, enemies will still prioritize him for his low magic or his low physical defense. Enemies cannot see mitigation. They do not care about mitigation. You can also have Flanagan use ramparts so that when Corentin is standing next to him, he takes half damage. This is part of the setup of the Death Ball team comp that I outlined in a previous video. Taking half damage and just Glacial Moon spamming, and then Medina just refills everyone's TP. It's extremely strong. You can easily breeze through New Game Plus doing this, and no one should die in the Death Ball. And that's just with like, so here's like the Death Ball, for example. You have this, and then you have Medina, and then I have Laura, and that is the Death Ball comp. You can shielding stance Flanagan with Sarah Noah. Flanagan uses ramparts. Flanagan shielding stance is Corentin. Corentin takes 25% damage from all sources. So if something were to hit him for 200, he just takes 50. So you can straight up tank almost anything. And it's extremely ridiculous. So that is the first advanced thing. So let's say you don't want to really be careful. You don't want to care about positioning. We'll just have Flanagan use ramparts and have Corentin stand next to him. It's really that simple. So, okay, so that's the first advanced thing. And then alternatively, if you don't want to run Flanagan, Serenoa is forced on most maps, as long as Serenoa is within 2 range. So 2 range looks something like this. Like these are the tiles. This is 1 to 2 range here. So this is the furthest he can be, Serenoa can be, to maintain shielding stance. And then it's all around him. So like he could be over here, for example. So 1 to 2 range of shielding stance, Serenoa will take half the damage. If Serenoa is at full health and has a res earring, which is something that makes sense. Res earring on Serenoa, shielding stance on Corinton. If Corinton gets hit once or twice, it doesn't matter. They can both catch a heal and be perfectly fine. So you just won't have Corinton getting hit for like 400 damage from an archer out of nowhere. Instead, he'll just take 200. So significantly better. And you always have Serenoa, so he can always put shielding stance on him. Okay, so that's the Flanagan. That's the Serenoa shielding stance and the ramparts. So what else should we be aware of with Corentin as far as like other units? So he works really well with batteries, as you might expect. So if we have a Medina, let's do this. Let's make a little baby team. We'll have a Julio and a Medina. Very standard stuff. Wherever she is. Is she down further? Where is she? I swear I just... Oh, there she is. She's over in the corner here. Okay. Alright, so here's our basic team. We don't really have a frontliner, but that's fine for this. Let's just start. Whew, okay, it's getting kind of late. Okay. So, Corentin. In other words, the best nuker in the game, for whatever reason. What does he want? So he generally wants a Medina. Medina usually goes before him. She has pretty high speed. So right out of the gate, what she tends to want to do is just double items, then just spam these pellets. And now he's at 5 TP as soon as the match starts. So this is like the main thing. Like Corentin wants Julio, he wants Medina. And the other amazing thing about Corentin is he doesn't need them, but it's nice to have them. So he usually wants a battery, but not to use any ability. If he's on ice, he can use 1 of 3 abilities each turn. I'm going to go into that in a second. But if he has a battery, he can spam Glacial Moon. So I'm going to show you his most basic combo. So what I'm going to actually do, I'm going to have Serenoa set up an ice tile, so that when it's his turn, he'll generate extra TP. Obviously, he's at full for now, but this is for future turns. We'll just pass here. Okay, so Corentin. Let's do the basic Glacial Moon. So you can see here, the range of Glacial Moon is absurd. It's actually so huge, and it increases his range from 6, because it's a 0 to 6 range, to 8. So he can reach things up to 8 tiles out, which is pretty crazy. So let's say we want to Glacial Moon this guy. Great. Now, you would only want to do this on multiple enemies. It's a waste to use it on a single target. But I'm just going to demonstrate how ridiculous Glacial Moon spam can be, even when used on, like, one dude. Alright, so basic example. You have a Julio, and you have a thing called In Tandem, but I don't even need it because I can also fast-acting medication. So what we'll do... Actually, we don't even need to do that. We can finish them. So check this out. Pretty basic stuff. Pretty crazy. So he's at 3 TP. Now he's at 5 TP because he regens 1 plus being on ice gives him an extra TP. So this is the easiest way to spam Glacial Moon. And then even crazier if you want to get like another combo off, you can In Tandem him. And this combo I'm about to show you is one of his best 1-2 punch combos. It is Glacial Moon into Icy Tomb. So what is Icy Tomb? So Icy Tomb is an ability that destroys ice tiles enemies are standing on and deals the best spike damage Corentin can deal. And it also costs 3 TP. It activates around him in a range of 1 to 4. So Glacial Moon lets you reach out and put big ice tiles everywhere and nuke things. Icy Tomb, he can run forward and then like last hit, often killing them or dealing significant damage. But the key thing is if he Glacial Moons from full TP, from 5 TP, and he's standing on ice tile, he gets down to 1 from Glacial Moon. He regens 1 from Natural regen, and then he regens a second TP from TP on Ice. And then he can, you know, run up a nuke if he wants. But in this case, let's see if I can do this from here. It'd be a little dangerous to do this because you have a turn 5 and a turn 6. So in this case, I wouldn't do that. But the big upside of Corentin is he has flexibility, so I can do silly things like this. I can run away. There's a bunch of different things he can do. For example, I could Frosty Fighters this guy if I really wanted to. But that's the big combo, is Glacial Moon into Icy Tomb. Now, obviously, I'm just running 4 units, so I can't support him running in and Icy Tombing. However, if these enemies push into him and you have Shielding Stance on him, that can be completely safe because he'll take half damage. So he can actually, if I would have Shielding Stanced him, he could have run in, but I was setting up Ice Tiles. So yeah, that's the Glacial Moon Icy Tomb combo, Shielding Stance, and so on. Let's say you want him to tank. You can do that too. Shield of Ice, invincibility for 1 hit, so check this out. Let's see. I'll have them both hit me on purpose. It gives him 1 hit of invincibility he can use on an ally. It does deal scaled damage back to the source. Okay, he went for the big attack. Because there's yeah, they're going for the delays because there's all these targets. So they're ignoring him, which is unfortunate. You never can predict completely what AI is going to do unless you take into account, you know, if it can kill something, if something has really low defense, if there's a bunch of things lined up, if there's follow-up attacks. Like AI loves to go for follow-up attacks, AoE attacks, kills, low defense targets. So there's all these different factors. So let's just battle cry him in this case. And then just put him back on ice. And then now we can Icy Tomb. Actually, there's only 1 target, so we can Glacial Moon these, that's fine. We'll do this so that there's ice tiles all around us, potentially reducing enemy accuracy. And one big upside of Serenoa is he has Under Conviction's banner. So he can allow you to pull off some silly things. So he's like a 3rd battery and he's forced. And then I could fast acting medication. And now he can Icy Tomb these if he wants to. But if I want to conserve, I can always use Icy Breath here. But let's see if Icy Tomb kills both. No, it doesn't. It kills this one for sure. And it puts that one at 38. So in this situation, what I would do is just Icy Breath. The big upside of Corinton is every turn he can do 1 of 3 things. I mentioned this earlier, but I'm actually going to show it. So let's just kill these. Cool. Get some TP. We'll pass these enemy turns. So he has 3 options every single turn, and this is true in the start of the game. He gets all these abilities pretty early on. He starts off with 2 of them. He doesn't get TP on ice until kind of mid to like late game. But once he does get it, he can cast these for free without a battery. Like he just generates 2 TP on ice, like total. So he can just, he has options every single turn without battery. So you can see here, he's just still at 3. Alright, so what are his options? So he has AoE, Icy Breath, which also creates ice tiles. He has Frosty Fetters, single target, big spike, 90% silence. This shuts down enemy mages, enemy healers. Extremely useful. And then he can also make an ice wall. He can do this every turn. So this combined with the ice spam drastically reduces enemy mobility and also their accuracy and helps contribute to shutdown and also helps mitigate damage. So it can be quite good. Alright, so in this case what we'll do is we'll go here. I can Icy Tomb these for fun. We'll just do that. He has a hit of invincibility. It's a lot of enemies coming in. I'm not expecting to win this, to be honest, because obviously I'm running like low units. Just hit everyone with a heal. Alright, and then he'll do the same. And then he'll do the same. Everyone just heals. I could intimidate these. That's not really the best thing. I could also Moment of Truth, so he can get a damage boosted Glacial Moon off. So let's just try that for fun. But you can kind of get the idea that Glacial Moon and Icy Tomb combo is really good. He has one of 3 options every single turn. So every turn he can silence something and spike it. He can AoE damage for good damage and put ice tiles on the ground, or he can make an ice wall. And those are all huge options. So that's just something to consider. For his, oh yeah, you can see there he does die pretty easily. The stupid clash thing usually gets him. But yeah, so his positioning is important. And you usually want to have like shielding stance on him. Even with a hit of invincibility, he was still able to get comboed down very fast. So, okay, let's retreat just to reset. Essentially, he's a glass cannon, which is fine because his range is absurd. So you can mitigate the glass part and just focus on the cannon. Okay, so let's look at his abilities again. Okay. So you have a lot of options. For TP on Ice, you have 1 of 3, as I mentioned earlier. You have your Glacial Moon spam, your Icy Tomb combo. Shield of Ice is probably his least used ability, because if you have 3 TP, you can be doing a lot. Like, you have 4 options with 3 TP. Honestly, he's like one of the most... Like, he tied with Ana and Medina for like one of the best generalists in my one video. But he just has so much flexibility that he can bring almost anything to the table. Like, you can even just spam ice walls, like 2-fold turn with battery, and he can just spam walls, like layers of ice wall, to completely shut down groups of enemies and prevent them from getting to you. He's extremely powerful, so something to keep in mind in regards to that. As far as like other advanced tactics, some things you can do, just like with Gila, you can use healing items to save TP. So if he's on ice and you want him to start saving TP, let's say you're not running batteries, you're doing itemless, or actually if you're doing itemless, you wouldn't be able to do this. Let's just say you're just not using batteries, or your batteries are doing something else, or he can't catch, a battery. What you can do is you can just have him throw icy tiles, like icy stones, for decent chip damage. So like, let's just demo that. I'll just have the batteries run off to the side, and I'll just use Medina for turn acceleration just to have him go more often. Any mage can throw stones, though. It's a great way to conserve TP while also dealing damage. Alright, so Medina will do this. She'll just throw an icy stone. Wherever it is. There it is. Just a ranged ice stone. So she'll throw that there. I didn't want it to be under him, so he didn't get the extra advantage of gaining an extra TP in this first turn.
I'll take it from here.
So what he can do, and it's very simple, is something like this. So if you want him to just deal some damage, 88 damage, it hits AoE, so it's still something, but it lets him conserve TP. Now, the reason you would want to do this is if it could kill something, or if you're going to have other units hit for some damage, just to add some damage for free. And then if, you want him to be not getting batteried for whatever reason, he can Glacial Moon after this. So it can just kind of be like a useful thing. So it's just like fast acting medication. So he didn't use any of his TP. Now it's his turn. Now he's at 5. He can Glacial Moon. And then he could run away or whatever you need him to do. Or in this case, we could just do this. Just a moment in truth. A moment in truth. A moment of truth in tandem. Then we'll get his tank on. Here's the shielding stance range. I didn't mean to expose his back though, that was an accident. So we can hit them with this. I can move forward. And Icy Tomb. For a pretty big spike. Icy Tomb does hit harder than Glacial Moon, so that's something to keep in mind when running him. If you can get an Icy Tomb off that can hit a ton of targets that are all in ice tiles, it's going to deal insane damage. Let's see. Yeah, he got back critted for 120. That's pretty good. Because of the shielding stance, so. He can be a little aggressive with the shielding stance. You can see these enemies like to hit AoE, but if I split my units apart, they should all go for Corentin, and then Medina, for example, could just tank. They can't hit in plus shape, so I can kind of abuse that. So if I position my units, if I just move Julio, so Corinton's going to go again, so he can Icy Tomb a single target, or he can Glacial Moon both of these. One of them would die, so we'd probably want to do that. And then as long as I am a certain distance away from Serenoa, like this distance, for example,
Where shall we strike?
I can't, I'll maintain my 50% damage reduction. Alright, let's just get one more turn in with him and then wrap it up. Got some assassins coming into the building. I'm just going to put this guy here. I want to see what the spear guy does. I don't think he can get to Corentin. He might be able to. Oh, yeah, that's right. He can still hit them in that way. Which makes no sense at all in terms of physics. Because I think it says thrust. Let me look at their attack again. I'm curious. What does it say? Yeah, delaying thrust. What it should say is delaying swipe. Because how does a stab hit things on either side? Alright. Alright, then here you go. Here's your Icy Tomb number 2. Get some big spikes off. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You want him to have tank on him to be aggressive. As I'm showing here, he has options each turn, so you want to carefully choose which thing to do. If he's not batteried, you always want him on ice. You always want him on ice. This is a fundamental thing with Corentin. You always want him on ice. Glacial Moon and Icy Tomb is a very solid combo. Shield of Ice is okay, but honestly, you're better off just putting tank on him if he's going to put it on himself. This can deal, I think, like 200 to 300 damage to a boss if it counterattacks a boss, but to normal enemies, it'll deal like 20 to 30 for whatever reason. Wall of Ice is really good. You can turn accelerate to spam this. Frosty Fetters is very good for shutting down things. You know, enemy mages, just preventing enemies from using abilities. Icy Breath is just good for cheap AoE damage. He can use Elemental Stones if you want to build up TP for Glacial Moon if your batteries can't act for whatever reason, or if you're not running batteries. And for accessories, you want speed, and then at least one speed, like a speed amulet or a speed bracelet. And then, you know, you can run HP, you could run Res Earring, you could run Magic, whatever you want. Res Earring usually is best put on a tank, and you get 2 of them if you beat the game and beat every route. There's 2 specific routes that give you the Res Earring, so just keep that in mind. I think one is guaranteed, and the other one is like route specific. So yeah, that's the Corinton Advanced Guide. Overall, I would say he's the best damage dealer. You always want to be careful with his positioning. You can be a little reckless with him with Flanagan and Serenoa because he can just tank. And as long as he doesn't get hit by like 5 things in a row, he should be fine. So yeah, that's it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Let me know what types of videos you'd like to see about this or for this game. There are some other games coming up I'm going to cover. I'm just waiting for them to ship. But for now, I still have advanced guides and chapter guides for hard and deathless, which I'm doing simultaneously. So when I do a hard mode chapter guide, it is also a deathless guide. So yeah, that's it for now, and see you in the next one.